The UK rarely plays the part of a beach holiday destination. Gray skies and rainy afternoons often dominate the image. But those clichés mask something wild. Certain spots along the British coast explode with vivid color and dramatic geography, leaving visitors to wonder if they stepped onto a movie set. Pastel-painted houses, castle-backed shores, tropical palm trees, and hidden fossil cliffs sit right here on our doorstep. There are no long-haul flights or passport stress required to visit this fierce coastline that most of the world ignores. As outlined in our original script, these are 17 UK beach towns that completely shatter reality. Portmeirion steals its aesthetic straight from Italy. According to the official history, Sir Clough Williams-Ellis spent 50 years shaping this sanctuary, from 1925 to 1975, to demonstrate that bold architecture could elevate nature rather than bulldoze it. Pastel-painted buildings, palm trees, and manicured gardens cling tight to the Welsh cliffs. Writers, artists, and royals flocked here for decades. The cult TV show The Prisoner shot its location scenes here in the 1960s, broadcasting its atmosphere straight into millions of living rooms. Standing in the central piazza makes the Welsh borders vanish from your mind, teleporting you directly to the Amalfi Coast. Subscribe to the channel to see 16 more places where that came from. St. Ives keeps pulling in painters and sculptors to continue a century-old obsession. The light here cuts through the atmosphere differently, appearing clearer and brighter than elsewhere. Artists figured that out decades before the first tourists arrived, which explains exactly why the Tate St. Ives Museum opened its doors in 1993 and became a celebrated gallery space. Outside those gallery walls, the beaches steal the show, with golden sand, turquoise water, and narrow cobblestone streets winding down to the sea. That vivid watercolor shocks first-time visitors, because nobody expects Cornwall to pack this kind of visual punch. Tobermory looks like a hand-painted masterpiece brought to life. Bright red, yellow, blue, and green houses anchor the waterfront of this Scottish island town, which was constructed as a fishing port in 1788 on the Isle of Mull. Reaching this spot requires serious effort, and that effort becomes the entire point. Beneath the bay, a legend claims a Spanish Armada ship went down in the 1500s, taking unrecovered gold into the dark water. Divers scoured the seabed for centuries without finding confirmation. The treasure story might not hold water, but the visual impact hits you instantly the second you arrive. Tenby boasts fortifications dating straight back to the 13th century. Those thick stone walls remain intact today, hugging a dense network of pink, yellow, and blue houses that leap right out of a storybook. 4 separate sandy beaches spread out directly beneath those ancient defenses. The town commands a prominent headland, meaning the ocean wraps around almost every side, and the sightlines deliver pure drama from every angle. Tenby regularly crushes the competition on lists of Britain's top coastal spots. Once you take in that clash of medieval stonework against bright painted facades and open water, the appeal becomes clear. Bamburgh Castle dominates this stretch of Northumberland coastline, with a fortress holding its ground here since the 6th century. It perches on a sheer volcanic outcrop directly above miles of wide and flat sand. On a clear day, with the Farne Islands visible offshore, the entire scene mirrors a high-budget film set. Nobody made this up, as Bamburgh stands there as a tangible and imposing fortress, delivering one of the most striking coastal panoramas across the British Isles. The stronghold towers above, while the sea stretches out endlessly. Salcombe hides where the coast plunges into the sea, sheltered deep inside a drowned river valley that protects its calm water year-round. The town transformed into a sailing hub in the 1800s, and that nautical identity refuses to fade. Visitors stroll down to the shoreline, bracing for the murky gray of a standard British coast. But the reality flips the script with clear blue-green water and boats bobbing under the sunshine. Those vivid colors scramble the brains of anyone accustomed to freezing domestic beaches. The scenery mimics the Mediterranean, yet this harbor anchors itself firmly in Devon. Whitby juggles two wildly different legendary reputations and wears both with absolute confidence. Captain James Cook mastered seamanship here in the 1700s, launching his path toward the Pacific Ocean to map the coasts of Australia and New Zealand. Then, in 1890, Bram Stoker arrived, stared up at the ruined abbey towering over the town, and penned Dracula. Both legacies thrive inside the exact same harbor limits. The sandy stretch below stuns visitors, while the clash of Gothic ruins, sharp sea air, and a working historic port turns Whitby into a fiercely atmospheric powerhouse. Lyme Regis sits on the Jurassic coast. In the early 1800s, a 12-year-old local girl named Mary Anning found some of the world's first identified marine reptile fossils right on this beach. The fossils are still turning up today. Walk along the shoreline and look at the base of the cliffs to find ancient ammonites and marine reptile bones sticking right out of the rock. This coastline is a natural museum spanning 185 million years of history with free entry. You get to experience the sea and something that died before humans existed. Plockton hides up in the Scottish Highlands, where it should logically endure cold, rugged, and treeless conditions. A warm Atlantic current called the Gulf Stream sweeps directly past this small village, creating an isolated microclimate where palm trees sprout right along the waterfront. The bay remains calm and unusually bright, leading directors to use Plockton as a filming location constantly. It remains quiet, small, and barely registers on the tourist radar, which means the few who track it down feel like they've found a hidden corner of the country. Hit like to help more people uncover this content and see these spectacular towns. Charles Dickens dedicated his summers to Broadstairs in the 1850s, declaring it his ultimate holiday retreat. Viking Bay carves a flawless horseshoe shape right between steep chalk cliffs, anchoring a small stone pier at one end while the town observes from above. The whole setup delivers a picturesque view effortlessly. Broadstairs flat out refused to morph into a loud commercial resort and guarded its character instead. Today, it still delivers the unhurried British seaside escape that writers and painters chased for 200 years, distilling its own essence over time. Smugglers ruled this village with an iron grip back in the 1700s. Tea, rum, and silk flowed through a secret underground tunnel network connecting the cellars to dodge the tax collectors patrolling above ground. The entire settlement functioned as one sprawling, coordinated, illegal operation. Today, many of those historical underground tunnels can still be explored, while the brutal geography that made dodging the law so easy remains on raw display. Steep and narrow streets plummet down toward a rocky bay that feels entirely severed from civilization, earning your respect on the punishing descent to the beach. Southwold has colorful beach huts that sell for over £100,000 each, despite having no plumbing and no heating. That single fact tells you everything about how much people want to be in Southwold. The lighthouse, built in 1890, stands in the middle of the town, casually planted among the houses like a tall neighbor. There is also a pier stretching out over the sea, making Southwold elegant, slightly eccentric, and a town that earns its price tag in views alone. Authorities banned cars in Portmeirion, and that single restriction dictates the entire mood of the valley. To access the village, you walk or ride a motorized shuttle bus down a narrow wooded path. Upon arrival, you discover ancient cottages stacked precariously on top of each other, gripping the steep cliffs right above a tiny harbor. Portmeirion operated as a notorious smuggling hub throughout the 18th century, using its jagged cliffs and hidden coves to execute midnight contraband drops. The outlaws vanished decades ago, but the dramatic tension they left behind still hangs heavy in the air. Crosby Beach stops visitors dead in their tracks with 100 life-size iron men occupying the shoreline and staring out at the open sea. As the tide surges, the freezing water swallows them inch by inch, until many are completely submerged. Artist Antony Gormley created this installation, calling it Another Place, and it dropped anchor at Crosby in 2005 after a European tour. Local authorities initially refused permission for it to remain permanently, but the public fought back and won. The Iron Men stand permanent, transforming Crosby into a coastal stretch unlike anything else. Crail sits in Fife, in a stretch of coastline called the East Neuk. Its stone harbor is so small and carefully preserved that photographers travel here specifically to capture it. Records of the harbor date back to the 1500s. The village still catches crab and lobster, and fresh seafood is sold from tiny, no-frills shacks right on the water seasonally. Nothing about Crail is loud or designed to impress visitors, offering quiet Scottish coastal life in its most honest form. Clean stone, cold air, and a harbor that has outlasted empires make Crail a proper answer for people avoiding noisy tourist towns. Abersoch started as a quiet and practical fishing village on the Llyn Peninsula in North Wales, until surfers found it and shifted everything. The waves rolling into nearby Hell's Mouth are consistent enough to make it an excellent surf spot, and the word got out fast. Across the water rises the Snowdonia mountain range, framing the whole beach like a dramatic backdrop, with a surf break in front and a mountain range behind. Abersoch became a highly sought-after coastal address and earned its reputation. Margate claims a 250-year history as a thriving beach resort and wears every decade of that past on its sleeve. Dreamland launched in the 1920s with wooden roller coasters that still rattle riders today. Margate refused to freeze as a museum exhibit, leading creative minds to take over and open galleries. The Turner Contemporary Museum debuted in 2011 to inject the streets with electric energy. Old fairground rides share a postcode with elite contemporary art and a vast sandy bay, proving that Margate dominates by throwing multiple elements at you simultaneously. The British shoreline keeps hiding places that should not exist, from a village that looks like Italy on the Welsh coast to a Scottish harbor older than most countries. These are not myths or edited photos, and you can visit all of them. Each one will make you question why you ever looked elsewhere for a holiday worth remembering. Castle beaches, fossil cliffs, iron men, and painted houses above secret smuggling tunnels are all here. Subscribe to see what else the UK is actually hiding.